On today's starting nine, Snake and Carl celebrate Albert Pujols' 700 career home runs, while Aaron Judge stalls in his own efforts to make history. We got a new segment that's making its debut as Carl calculates playoff odds. The Dodgers are set to shatter their own history since World War II. The Guardians are talking major shit, and the biggest series of the weekend is upon us. It's that time of the year, our most loaded show to date. Let's have a great starting nine. Action! Welcome back to Starting Nine. Carl and Snake here. Big show, loaded. I sent out the outline. I felt bad because there's just pages on pages, but
it's a lot of stuff. But a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's that time.
Whole lot to talk about. It is that time. We're winding down. Some exciting shit, obviously, with Pujols. Pretty funny. So we're watching the game the other night, and he hits 699, and then they show the replay, and then Cooper, he's watching something on his phone. I think he was, and talking to a couple of his buddies. He saw the replay. He's like, "Oh shit, he hit 700." I'm like, "Nah, it's a replay. It's a replay." And then he hits 700. He wasn't even paying attention. And then he finally sees it and he freaks out a little bit. And then they show the replay of that. And he's like, "Oh, he hit 701. He hit 3 homers." I'm like, "Dude, you gotta lock in a little bit. Like, you gotta pay attention." And he gets so spacey sometimes. Like 2 weeks ago, he goes, "Dad, so what is it like? Is it halfway through the season?" And I go, "Did you just ask me that? Like, we're at the All-Star game like 2 months ago. And you understand, you've been around baseball how long? Like, don't you understand how this works?" So I got to give him a little slack. I mean, he is 11. He turned 11 yesterday, actually.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to the big fella.
Yeah. Time's flying by, man. Got an 11-year-old and a soon-to-be 9-year-old.
I had a great weekend, obviously. Bears 2-1, but it's Friday night, and I'm out to dinner and a little sushi, and then there's like a bar across the street we like, so we have a little combo there, like load up on the sushi and then go over to the bar and just, kind of get after it a little bit. And in the corner of the bar, they're playing the Dodgers-Cardinals game. For me, it's a good combo there where it's like, all right, obviously Friday night, Mrs. Carl, we're going to get some dinner. But at the same time, I'm definitely going to need the TV tuned into the Cardinals-Dodgers game as Pujols is going for $6.99. So when we get done with dinner and we go sit down at the bar, I was like, man, we're going to have a good time in this. But the only thing that could ruin tonight is if we got to get out of here and because Pujols hits 2 pops and I got to go home and blog and sell merch and tweet about it and all this stuff. And, I mean, within 30 minutes. There wasn't even time to, open the tab, close the tab. It was just sit down, pop, holy shit. Comes out again, pops again for 700. And so on the way home, and the mind's racing, the excitement. My number one reaction when it happened was, all right, get the blog up, get the merch up, get the conversation going. Congratulations to Albert Pujols. But then it starts to set in that you see how the rest of the internet is reacting to it. And the first wave for me is all right, let's just get it. Congratulations to Albert Pujols. But, man, the internet is very quickly now just pointing fingers and being like, all right, now that he's got 700, now the conversation's turned to be like, all right, how the hell do you get to 700? The tone between this week and last week with Albert Pujols and the suspicions and all that stuff, I think people are quick.
And what were some of the suspicions? Like, what are people talking about?
Steroids is very much at the top of the list. That Albert Pujols in his last year, age 42, and
people are claiming that he's on steroids now
to hit 700. Oh. So that I don't understand the motivations. He's made $346 million in his career. If he's taking anything to be, a health thing, maybe I'm not even. If you're even going to entertain
come on, man. He's at the point in his career where he's running on fumes. Obviously, he's been playing the game forever, and I'm not claiming that. I don't know if he's ever done it. I definitely don't think he's on it now. I think if there was a point in his career he was ever gonna do it, it would have been years and years ago. And I'm not saying he did that, but I think it's ridiculous to claim that he's on any sort of performance enhancers currently just to hit 700. And it's not like but doesn't shock me or surprise me that people out there on the internet would make those sorts of claims. I mean, shit, if you look hard enough, you can find any possible claim that you'd like to find. They're out there.
It is his highest slugging percentage in 11 years. But he was good when he went to the Dodgers last year and he got out of the Angels situation. He played well for the Dodgers. I think he had like 12 to 15 home runs in a small sample size with them down the stretch. And to your point, he's running on fumes. I think anytime you're like, hey, coach is saying last gasser, last suicide, last sprint, last time to go put your juice behind something, everybody's got a little bit of boost behind him. I'm bringing it up because I think it's interesting, the dichotomy between baseball fans, such as myself, and the internet reaction, and then the clubhouse reaction. Like, I know for a fact after sitting out in Los Angeles for the All-Star game and watching the way the players reacted to Albert Pujols in the home run derby, that nobody is rolling their eyes in any clubhouse with Albert Pujols. But the fans, it's our inclination once something happens to be like, ooh, this is suspicious. And I'm not even to me, the biggest suspicion would be like Major League Baseball changing balls for him, or like, I don't even know if that's on the table or not. But it sucks that he hit 700 and it's not even, the paint's not even like dry on the history books, like writing in the 700th home run, and then it's just like finger pointing.
Yeah, I mean, it is Albert Pujols.
Boom.
And he is still capable of squaring up a baseball. When you mentioned it's his highest slugging percentage in 11 years, like that's shocking.
By a lot.
Yeah. I mean, so how many plate appearances does Pujols have this year?
Gonna pull him up, but off the top of my head, I'd say about 350. Yeah, I could say 333. See, this is your co-host right here. This is me. I'm not sure. I got to look it up. I think it's 350. It's 333. So you can always count on me for stuff like this.
Well, you're close. Yeah, I don't know. That is very, very shocking that his slugging percentage is higher than it's been in 11 years. And how many homers does he have this year?
21. His home run per plate appearance is as high as it's been since, he was in St. Louis. It's higher than that, actually.
I mean, if you just go on like
a full season over 162, he's on pace to hit like 45 dingers, and he hasn't done that since 2009.
Yeah, I hate when it like has to come down to like steroids or performance enhancers, like just because somebody's performing a certain way, and yeah, I mean it is bizarre that his numbers are what they are, and it's an 11-year like high. I don't know, but
Cardinals are fucking good though. How about that?
Cardinals are really good.
Cardinals are good.
And he's got to have. There's got to be some. There's definitely some added juice, like with him being back in St. Louis. That's for sure. Being with Yachty, being with Wainwright. Being in the city that. I mean, every city loves Pujols. I believe. Is there a fan base that doesn't like Albert?
Maybe the Los Angeles Angels
or the Astros.
Yeah, but the Astros did nothing but dominate him for most of his
time.
Yeah,
I mean, but that one postseason where he just destroyed Lidge. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to I'm trying to find something, but I don't know. I think that Pujols is pretty much beloved by everybody, and he hasn't given people a reason not to like him.
You know what? I'll say this: I don't like Albert Pujols right now. I had to go home and. Bad Friday? No, it was a great Friday night. I am mad because tomorrow morning I was going to get up and go to Milwaukee. I was going to try and catch a 700th home run ball. You saw those texts going around on Friday night. I was so mad. I was going to use Game Time, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, created by fans, for fans. Game Time's a new ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. And they guarantee the lowest price. If you haven't given them a shot yet, you must be new here. There's a fair statement. You must be new because Game Time is by far the best ticketing app in all material facets. But I will say they do guarantee the lowest price. I was on Game Time. I had the tickets ready to go. I was sitting in the left field. I think it was section 236. I don't have the exact American Family Fun Field seating chart in front of me, but I was bringing a glove too. I was bringing a buddy, hold a camera. We're going to stand out left field, catch a 700th ball. And then I was going to bring it back for the show. I was going to come back to the show. I was going to say, thank you, Game Time, for setting me up. Unfortunately, Albert Pujols already hit 700. So easy to use, amazing deals. You guys are going to love Game Time. Highly encourage you guys to check out, especially getting into the postseason playoffs. You guys want to get those good tickets, check out Game Time. All you have to do is download the app. Download the Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, and redeem code STARTING9 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time, last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Closing up Albert Pujols sentiment here, I do think he's in store for like an October moment because they're going to be the 3 seed. They're going to play the 6, so they're going to play the last wild card team. The Cardinals are hot. I can see him getting an NLDS, and if he does, it'll be against the Dodgers. So keep your eyes peeled for Albert Pujols to do some more damage. I'm not.
I believe he will. I mean, he's on this pace. You know, he's been able to do things he hasn't done in 11 years. And maybe, you know, he knows it's his last year. This is his last year. It's his last September, his last opportunity in October. That has to provide a little extra for him. Just has to, you know, and when you only have, you know, 4 or 5 guys that have ever hit that many home runs, you can't put anything past him. I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 guys have hit that many, I would say. He's just in the stratosphere of greatest to ever do it, you know, like one of the greatest to ever do it. And he will have absolutely an opportunity in October to do some more damage in the playoffs. So the 700 home runs are nice. As a guy who's been demoralized and ruined by Albert Pujols for the better part of 2 decades in Major League Baseball, I'm very comfortable in saying there's more work to be done. If you're a Cardinals fan, like, good time to throw a future on them. I think they're 9-1 to win the pennant, 20-1 to win the World Series. Okay, I have a new segment. Not a new segment. Actually, it's a repeat segment, but it's a segment we do. We do it every week. It's called Aaron Judge is fucking awesome at baseball. I don't think this is true, but our starting 9 social team had put out a statement that everyone in the Yankees lineup is homered since Judge last homered. That's not true.
I saw that. I didn't think it was.
No, it's been like 15 or 16 plate appearances for Aaron Judge, but it feels like he's getting cold. 15 or 16 plate appearances for a home run would put yourself on pace to hit about 40 throughout the course of the season. So I think he's on – this year it's like every 10 plate appearances he hits a home run. It's been a couple games. There's 9 games left. Does anybody want to hit the panic button on this show for Aaron Judge to not hit 62 home runs?
No way. I mean, he's going to have – I say he hits another handful of homers. You know, in the last series against Boston, maybe, you know, the Maris family's there. Everyone is not – I don't know if he felt any added pressure. I mean, he's had such a great season. But when you're 1 away – maybe you press a little bit. I mean, it was the bottom of the 9th inning in a tie game off of Barnes. I mean, the exit velocity was 113 miles an hour. He just got a tick under it. I mean, it was so close to getting it right there. Kike caught it like, you know, a step from the wall on the warning track. And then I believe he had another one maybe the next night that was to the warning track. So, I mean, he's still taking good swings. I mean, I'm not a swing expert, but he could be pressing just a tick to get it out of the way, but he's so big and so strong. I mean, he can miss hit balls and still hit homers. So I believe he hits, you know, 4 to 6 more home runs. I'd like to see him do it tonight just to kind of get it out of the way. And then maybe after he gets 61, then he just, you know, then he finds a way to hit a handful, you know, of more homers. So
it could either be a huge bunch or it could just be, you know, 1 or 2 more
sure.
to close out the season. I think I'm not ready to like push this narrative because there's still 9 games left. It's just a little bit of a stretch where he hasn't homered here. But the sense of Yankees fans not getting this is very appealing to me. Because Yankees fans are just so loud in June and July, and they've just gotten progressively more and more quiet. And, like, the one thing Yankees fans have hung their hat on is Aaron Judge. Like, Aaron Judge, Aaron Judge, Aaron Judge. And so it's like, well, man, if he lands on 60 after all the shit they've been talking, and you got to go into a playoffs, that would be demoralizing Yankees fans. And not to be mean to them, it's just they've had phenomenal lives. Like, I like to see the pain spread around a little bit. And it's just funny knowing that this would absolutely cause pain to Yankees fans if he stopped on 60.
It would be devastating for Yankees fans. And to kind of watch him do what he's done all season and then to kind of not get there. And, you know, a lot of the fans are just, you know, hoping and praying that he wins the Triple Crown also. I mean, that's for a fan base. I mean, let's say, you know, a Cub wins the Triple Crown. Like, that's something that as a fan you would talk about. Like, you remember the season, you know, in 2022 when so-and-so did this, that, and then he won the Triple Crown. Like, that's pretty incredible bragging rights for a fan base. So I'm sure, people obviously want him to hit 62 plus and then also to win the AL Triple Crown. And in your mind, does he need to win the Triple Crown to win the MVP over Shohei? Or does he have, I don't want to say already locked up, but like it's such a difficult argument for a lot of people. I mean, I was talking to a guy the other day and he was like, hands down, it's Shohei that wins the MVP. I'm like, all right, well, I guess we can't even necessarily have this conversation because you can't penalize Judge for not pitching also. I mean, he doesn't do that. I mean, there's been two guys ever be able to do what Shohei does for an extended period of time, and the other one's Babe Ruth. So I don't know. I think you only take the hitting stats. That's all you can take, and you compare those, and if you do that, Judge wins by a landslide. And yes, Shohei's the most valuable player on the Angels, which is a shitty team, and Judge is the most valuable player on a playoff contending team. So for me, it's not that difficult of an argument, but I'm no fucking expert. So
I'll flex some expertise then to help you out. The AL East is being considered the greatest division in the history of baseball. The 2022 AL East is in the conversation of like the all-time just awesome divisions in the history of baseball. And the Yankees will win it convincingly, and they'll do it because one guy on that team has carried them the entire season. They'll do it with a thin starting pitching. They'll do it with a bullpen that's been flip-flopped and turned over and new faces here and there and injuries, this and that. They'll do it with a team where, like, the starting catcher was a castaway from the – I mean, you just go down the list of guys like, okay. I mean, they're all gamers. No shit, I'm not going to sit here Rizzo's legit. I'd go to war with Anthony Rizzo. This is a different version of Anthony Rizzo than the 2015. So, like, they're just – this team is solid. I'm not disparaging the Yankees team. They're going to win first in the division, but the only reason that they're going to take first place in the division is how spectacular Aaron Judge has been. Should he pop two more, it's a guarantee. I think right now it's like 99% that he's going to win the MVP. It would take something cataclysmic to happen. And I think people are ready to, like, okay, we get it. The Angels are sincerely that bad. They are so bad. So Shohei didn't do he doesn't have the body of work to push him over the top in this conversation. I think the award's wrapped up, and again, that's the Yankees are winning the division, and that's the division is one of the best divisions in the history of baseball. So I am curious, though, in your experience, have you played with anybody, or do you remember someone like this? Whether Aaron Judge gets 61 or 62 home runs this year will have no impact on the team's success or any of this shit. Like, it's purely just a milestone. Have you played with someone where, like, the last 2 weeks of the season they were going after a milestone, or there was, like, some kind of milestone in the clubhouse that, like, just became a funny thing, like a ball and chain or something, where it's like, dude, will you just get rid of that?
Well, like a small example. I mean, I'm sure there's more as I kind of sit here and think about it. But in 2000, I want to say it was 2013, when Travis Wood was an all-star. We're winding down towards the end of the season, and he has, I think it's his last start. He's got like a 3.01 ERA. And the conversation going into his last start was, okay, we're going to send you out for an inning, and we're only going to let you throw an inning. They're trying to, get him under a 3. And, for a guy, like we were, we weren't going anywhere as a team. The season was going to end at the end of September. And everybody wanted to see Travis get under a 3. But the way that they approached it, was, I think, doing a disservice, where he's like, okay, all I got to do is get 3 outs, or right, instead of approaching it like a normal start and just going out there and seeing what happens. I think he ended up giving up like 2 or 3 runs in the first. So then he gave up a run in the first. So you got to send him out there for another inning. And he ended up giving up, I think, 4 and 3 innings. I don't know for sure. But that was, and there's a big difference between an ERA that starts with a 2 and starts with a 3. Even if it's 0.01 difference. It looks nice, right? So, and when you're kind of chasing that, it's a big deal for you. And, we all wanted to see him get there. And it's like, man, when he gave up that run, it's like, shit, now he's got to get like 6 outs or 8 outs, and then he ended up not getting there. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure involved in this. With what Judge is going through is a lot more polarizing, and I think there is a big difference whether he hits 61 or 62. I think if he lands on 61, it's an amazing accomplishment, but that's something he's probably going to think about forever. And I think he eclipses 61, no problem. But if he were to land on 61, man, that's tough.
I am drawn. I'm drawn. Yankees fans are rolling their eyes. Anybody listens, they know he's got 9 games left. He's absolutely going to hit 2 more. But
I mean, there's a shot he doesn't. I mean, it's possible. I don't think
I'll
that's
tell you
going to be the case.
Here's something that made me fall out of my chair. So, new segment, fall out of your chair time, about Aaron Judge. So, what's more likely? It'd probably be more likely for Aaron Judge to not homer in the last 9 games than the statistic I'm about to read to you. Aaron Judge, by the end of May, out-homered every single player on the White Sox this year. By the end of May. Aaron Judge in 2022, by the end of May, out-homered every single player on the White Sox this year. Not one player on the White Sox.
Who led the Sox in homers? Anderson or Abreu?
Somebody's got 17. I think Andrew Vaughn has 17.
Man, it's just that division. And
we're going to get to it.
There's a lot of great players there, but it's just kind of hard to watch.
It is very hard to watch. So credit to Aaron Judge. I think that's a good. Yeah.
Is it surprising to you that nobody's ever gotten closer to 61 in the American League because of how many like prolific, home run hitters that have been in the division for years? It's kind of, I was thinking about this the other day. It's kind of surprising to me that nobody's gotten closer than they have.
I think just like the measure of the health and getting the pitches to drive, because by the time you're locked in, you're not getting pitches. Like it's like
That's
Sammy
true.
Sosa, when he was hitting 60 plus, he had months where he'd hit 18, 19, 20 home runs. I just don't think we live in an era where there's a game where people are willing to go out and make the same mistakes over and over again to hitters. There's too much data. So the strategy is shifting on how you pitch guys when they get hot. The health and longevity is another thing. I mean, there were times in the 90s and early 2000s, right, where it'd be like, well, you know what the problem is with that pitcher is he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the fucking what it takes. So here comes another guy. Oh, what's his pitch? What's his pitch repertoire like? He throws 92 with a sinker, a slider, and a change. Exact same pitcher, but they just be like, he doesn't have it, this guy has it. And then
well, it seems like what I've noticed from the at-bats with Judge is that guys are still going at him. I mean, you're not throwing shit right down the middle. You're still trying to get him out. And I respect that. I like when guys are still trying to get guys out. It's not like, all right, you're going to set up 8 inches off the plate, and I'm just going to throw you 4 balls right there, and if you want to swing at it, then you can swing at it. So, I mean, have you noticed that? Because from the at bats I've seen with Judge, guys are still trying to get him out, and he's had a lot of opportunities to do damage, which he's done. And even, in the series against Boston, I mean, he had some pitches to hit. He was taking some really nice swings. He fouled a couple off and, just barely missed a couple that he could have easily hit for homers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wasn't getting mad, though. I know Pete Alonso was getting mad not too long ago. I got a good note on Pete Alonso. We're going to get to him in a little bit. But, it's interesting. I think I would have expected Boston to kind of fuck around with it a little bit, have some fun with it. But, all right, I do have I got the playoff calculator out this weekend, and not really, but I did my work. I sat down with a pen and paper. I sketched out the format, and it's a new format. I was on a Mariners podcast. I think that came out Monday, talking to the Mariners boys about the playoff format. There's still some confusion, so I'll take a second here just to clear it up. So it is a new format from MLB this year. There's 6 teams on each side, as we've talked about, 3 wild card teams and 3 division winners. And the first and the second seed, they get byes. They do not participate in the first round of the playoffs. The first round of the playoffs is a 3-game wild card series, all played in the same location. So 3 hosts and 4 hosts. 3 hosts 6, 4 hosts 5. And there is, in both leagues, chaos up for grabs with the seeding of the wild card. It's like I thought that there would be more drama about who would be the 6, the 7, or their 8 team, like how many teams are knocking on the door to be the last wild card team. But now that we're like week and a half out for the rest of the season, the big drama is who's going to be seeded 4, 5, or 6, and there's major implications on both sides. I guess I'll start the playoff talk with Milwaukee might make the playoffs. They're a game and a half back, and they're chasing the Phillies and they're chasing San Diego right now. And I'm like inclined to think that San Diego can have another collapse. I am.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And the Phillies lost a close one the other night. I'm trying to fucking pull this thing up right here. And so let's talk about that again. The wild card series are all played in the same location.
Yeah, there's no travel this year. None. You will go to Cleveland and you will play all 3 games in Cleveland. You will like it. But I think that's the way they try to create such an overwhelming advantage. You win a division and you still got to play 3 games against a wild card team after you win your division. That's kind of tough. So what's the big bump there? But then my question is, what about home field advantage in the playoffs? Like, you guys got to be as fucking dialed in as possible. I feel like home field advantage would matter a lot if it's kind of like a meaningless Saturday game. You come out and they're like, these fans are fucking crazy. But what player's not taking the field there with the maximum amount of focus and intentionality?
The fans play a part in it, sure. It's hard to quantify exactly how much though.
Great games in Cleveland. You had great games, the bomb against Bumgarner. You pitched well in Pittsburgh.
The moment kind of dictates, how players perform more than like the crowd noise, whether it's for or against you. That's the kind of way I look at it. I think most great players feel the same way. The COVID season 2020, I mean, that was an embarrassingly bad look, like for all sports, and putting the cardboard cutouts in the stands. Like I didn't care if it was the home fans or visiting fans. Just noise is great. So I think that's a pretty common theme with guys. They just want to hear the fans. They want to hear people getting loud and rowdy in the stands. Whether it's for or against you, it does something to kind of get those juices going. It did for me, and I think it does for most guys. But look, yeah, Milwaukee, 1.5 games. Yeah, of course, they're right there.
Well, I mean, I think the home field advantage stuff, too, is like if you're not traveling in a series, too, I think most of the advantage is like, well, you're staying in your own bed, and then they get, you're traveling more than the other team is traveling. But that's not the case with this. If it's just like a one banger, get on the road, go play 3 games. There's some elements where I think there's a big advantage. This would be very interesting to see how this format plays out, because I know Major League Baseball has an interest in getting more teams involved in the postseason without compromising the integrity of the postseason. Like Ken Rosenthal last week, great point. 4 rounds, historically speaking with baseball, that's 3 rounds is where you can really say with confidence like they're the best in this tournament. 4 rounds is now you're introducing just more opportunities for crazy shit to happen, which happens in our game so frequently that, if this format lends itself to atypical results over the year, then I'll probably have a sour taste. Right now, though, I do like the format because there's more structured baseball, and I love that they're not reseeding. I love that it just starts. You know exactly when the games are scheduled. You know who's going to be playing who based on what. So let's just jump. I want to jump out of Milwaukee. I just want to acknowledge briefly they're 1.5 games back. I know nationally people don't pay attention to the Milwaukee Brewers. This is what they do. They win out the last week of the season. They've done it for like the last 10 years. So the fact that they're hot with good starting pitching and a brand of baseball that's very cheap and local and has kept them into the season this far, when you look at some of these other rosters, just another, wherever Milwaukee goes this season, credit to them because they just compete year in, year out. I do want to go to the NL East, though, because this weekend is the biggest series of any, in my recent memory, in the regular season, because they're playing for the NL East. And if you listen to the playoff format, the fucking difference here is outstanding between being the 2nd seed hosting the NLDS versus being the 4 seed and having to play a 3-game wild card and then go on the road. Whoever wins 4 or 5 is going to have to go on the road and play in NLDS against the winner. So if the Braves win the division, then the Mets are on the road in the NLDS against them, best case scenario, and vice versa with the Mets. So this weekend's disastrous, can be disastrous for one of these teams.
Right, and the Mets Braves play starting what is that, the 30th? Friday. Yeah.
Bad weather.
And that's just is that 2 games?
Colin, get in here.
Yeah, Colin, that's 2 games.
3
Friday,
games.
Saturday?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the Mets will have Bassett, DeGrom, and Scherzer going up against them.
God, that's going to be incredible.
Are you nervous?
I'm a little nervous, but we have the upper hand right now and the advantage, so I'm ready for it. I mean, we've been in this situation the entire season. We relinquished first place for 1 day. Like the Mets, they're here for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets are still up a game and a half, so nothing to be too nervous about.
Yeah, but it's just a heartbreak if it goes the other way. It's just like the sense of this whole season, and Colin has maintained a level of confidence throughout the season. There has not been
he sure has
cracks in the foundation of his fandom.
No, he's remained calm and steady throughout, and he's right. They've relinquished the lead, for 1 day this season. A little nerves is okay because of fucking how many games you play to get to this point and be so close to the division, but there's still an opportunity in there for the Braves.
I think what Met fans are seeing is the old Mets teams where they collapse. Like, if we lose the division, that'll suck, but we're in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we lose this division and we're not making it. So, like, it's going to be tougher, but you've seen it. Wild card teams have won the World Series.
Yeah. It is a different level of commitment for you guys because, to Colin's point, right, not making the playoffs is where just the whole bottom falls out. And you're like, I have to wait till spring training. And that's the worst feeling when you finally adapt yourself as a fan into being like, we're going to the postseason this year. We're a postseason team. It's just a completely different level of expectations you go throughout the season. Like this year with the Cubs, I've been so laid back. Like, oh, yeah, we can play spoiler against Philadelphia down the stretch. That'll be fun. I like the way this guy looks. He had hit 40 doubles this year. Congratulations to him. I am not beating myself up about bad bullpen management or anything. It's actually been pretty relieving. But once you get in that situation where it's like, all right, end of September, the seeding, and you don't get what you want, it is as empty as it gets with fandom because to be a baseball fan, show up every week, I mean, come on. So there's one of these teams is going to be sad here between the Phillies, the Padres, the Brewers. You're going to get your heart broken between the Braves and the Mets. Good luck. Whoever gets a wild card, he has to be pissed off.
It's really easy to understand the heartbreak too when you know that there's a lot of fans out there that are tracking every single game and the progress of their team, and teams that are kind of on the come up and monitoring the farm system, and they show a little sign of life, like a team like the Orioles, who, I guess technically they're not completely out of it.
Now they're 4 back. They got to win out.
They're 4 back, yes.
They need the race to keep,
exactly.
Bumbling.
But then to, even on a good team where you're, say you're in first place for a majority of the season, and then you give up the lead and you find your way not into the playoffs, and heartbreaking for a fan base, especially those who follow every single night. So, I mean, it makes sense, but yeah, I couldn't imagine being a fan and watching every single
not
night.
getting a paycheck.
Oh man.
Yeah, you guys are sitting there being like, well, it's our job. We're going to sit here and watch this game. No, there are people out there that like sit at home and keep score and tune the radio so it matches up with the video because the broadcast is clean. I don't know these people, even though I'm one of them. I do AL stuff too. This is pretty juicy. There's nobody's going to crack the wild card in the American League. But before I tell these, I want to talk to my good friends at Roman. I want to thank Roman for sponsoring. You guys here talk about Roman. There's some people in the American League going to be rock hard coming down the stretch here. And Roman Swipes, they're there for you every single time, just like playoff baseball. Roman Swipes are convenient, over-the-counter wipes, clinically proven to help you last longer in bed, uniquely formulated to reduce overstimulation without eliminating the sensation altogether. And they've proven to increase your time to orgasm by 400%. I am a guy who likes that. I need more time with the boys in the chamber. because I like it, and Roman's there to deliver it for me. It's disposable swipe. It's discreet. Comes in a pocket-sized pack. And honestly, you guys are going to order some Roman swipes. They want you to have a lot of sex. They send you a lot of product. It's a great product, and you can try it today for as little as $2.75 per swipe. Try swipes today with a special offer just for our listeners. If you're listening, this is just for you. You special boy. Go get some swipes for that big, healthy penis of yours. 20% off your first order at GetRoman.com/starting today. That's 20% off your first order at GetRoman.com/starting. That's GetRoman.com/starting for 20% off. Go get some Roman swipes. Go have some good sex and thank us for it, because that's what we're here for. We want to give you the good quality sex that you guys want to be having. Think of starting 9 when you're laying that pipe. GetRoman.com/starting, 20% off your order. And by the way, when we meet, like, that's what I want. If I'm out having cocktails or something, and you see me on Clark Street, you're like, Carl, tell me you're using the Roman swipes. That's a great talking point when we're around. I want to hear from my guys in the Roman Swipe Army.
I would like to as well. I want some testimonials. I want to hear what the difference has been. And if you're out there using it, put yourself on the clock. Don't use it one night. Get yourself on the clock, use it, and then I really want to know the difference.
I want to get a voicemail line for these testimonials. Like, call in and tell us how good those swipes are working for you. We'll air the best voicemail. Stay tuned for a voicemail line for Roman Swipe testimonials. Okay, some sex. I got sex in the wild card here. The Mariners, Blue Jays, and Rays very much will be in the playoffs, provided the Orioles don't win out. One of them loses out. That's kind of where we're at with the Orioles.
They're done. Yeah. They're done.
Between these three teams, the Mariners have the easiest finish. Even though they just blew a 9-run lead to the Royals on Sunday, I think that's the worst collapse of the year, probably the decade. They've got 9 games in a row at home to close out the season, 3 against Texas, 3 against Oakland, and then, I should say 10, 4 against Detroit. So the Mariners have an extra game to play against a bad team, and they're playing underwhelming teams. The Rays have 9 on the road at Cleveland, even though they already clinched, at Houston, even though they already clinched, and at Boston, even though they've already been eliminated from postseason contention. So 9 on the road. And then finally, the Blue Jays got a little mix here. They play the Yankees at home, they play Boston at home, and then they're on the road at Baltimore for a spoiler. We talked about Baltimore winning out. That could be a stretch down the series with the Blue Jays where, hey, maybe things go south. Maybe that last weekend against the Orioles really is juicy, sexy. The reason I bring up these 3 teams is because obviously with the seeding and the way it works as we explain the playoff format at the top, somebody's got to go play the Yankees. I do want nothing to do with the Astros. I'm like 4 or 5 seed to the grave. I will do whatever it takes to not be the 6 seed out of the one. The loser in this is the 6 seed. The loser is the person who has to go play the Guardians, and then someone gets sacrificed to the Astros. The best path out of the American League, if you're a wild card team, is through the Yankees. That's my take on all this.
That's what happens if you're the last one to get in. If you're the 6 seed, you get paired up with a monster. But the beautiful thing about it is you still have a shot to win. You still have an opportunity. You're up against, the task it's a difficult task, but you're in October. And, we've seen crazy shit happening in October many times. But it seems like, I would say it's all but wrapped up. I don't think Baltimore gets in. In the National League, Milwaukee could find themselves in. That would be, God, if I was a part of a couple of Phillies teams who we were in first place for a lot of the season, and then we found our way out of the playoffs. In 2020, we were in Tampa, and we had to win. It was like 1 or 2 games of our last 2 series to get in the postseason, and I believe we lost like 6 or 7 in a row. And we played Tampa. I think it was the last game of the season. We had Noel on the mound. I'm like, we're getting in. Noel's going to win this game. And he just, he had a tough one. We lost. We found our way out of the playoffs. So I'm sure there are people in Philly that are reminded of those years. That, I want to see them get in. But we know how badly the Milwaukee Brewers want to get in. And if they do get in, they have some horses that can help them maybe find their way through. So it's going to be interesting. I'd like to see Baltimore have a chance to get in. They're going to need some help with the teams in front of them. I mean, they're 4 games out. It seems like a long shot at this point.
Yeah, worth bringing up here. You brought up the Phillies. I do have a note on Aaron Nola, but before we get to them, I'm just going to quickly point out the Guardians have talked a ton of shit about the White Sox since clinching, and it's been outstanding. So the closer, Emmanuel Clase, had the Instagram live going. Clase.
I saw that in your blog post.
Unbelievable stuff. So we got an Instagram live from the Guardians clubhouse. The boys are popping champagne. You could just hear it in the background. Guys are chanting, "Fuck the White Sox." And then they're taking a picture together and someone's chanting "Fire Tony." I think more of that stuff needs to get broadcasted because as fans, it just heightens so much senses. Like the way the White Sox will respond to the Cleveland Guardians next year, granted they made their own bed is shit here. But like the fact the Guardians have come out, talked their shit back to the White Sox were ripping on the division at the start of the season. Now the Guardians are like, hey, we had a 7.5% chance to get to the playoffs when the season started. We're going to talk all the shit we want. They catch fire. They go 17-3 over their last 20 down the stretch, including 3-1 against the White Sox to clinch the AL Central. They can say whatever shit they want to say to anybody for the next couple, like whatever they want about this season against the White Sox. They earned it. Even if they get swept in the playoffs, they're walking around this offseason being like, don't matter, we fucking took that division. Little F words today. It's okay. Fired up.
Well, I mean, going 17-3 down the stretch, that's it's just a testament to what Francona is doing there and the youth of that team. I mean, they're the youngest team. Are they the youngest roster in baseball? Did I see that? At 26-something years old. And look, I respect managers. I think they have a difficult job to do. But, 95% of the time, I think it's the majority of what happens is because of the players, the unit of players they have in the clubhouse and how they perform on the field. But you can't, discredit, what Francona has been able to do with the Guardians. Tremendous, man. And I think it's easy to kind of understand that with this stretch that they've been on, leading up to where we're at now. Like you mentioned, 17-3 down the stretch. That's impressive for any team. And, in a division that's kind of been underwhelming, to kind of separate themselves in that way, just kind of shows that they're ready to make a push in October.
Ken teed it up perfectly last week. If you guys haven't listened to the Ken Rosenthal interview, go back. I'll listen to that. But he talked about the Guardians as, a surprising team, the chemistry, the makeup, high contact rate, lowest strikeout rate, like you're talking about, well managed. Now, is them a surprise team? I think it's also surprising. I saw the statistic that the Dodgers are very much on pace to be like the second best team of all time by run differential. I mean, third place for sure, second place is on the table. And the teams above them are all from like pre-1940. So, relatively speaking, in the modern world that we've come to know over the last 60 years, we'll say, this Dodgers team is the best Dodgers team in that world by run differential. And they do it
they're
sneaky.
Plus 322.
It's sneaky. The fact it's like, even when I was putting the outline together, I'm like, where should I put this story? I'm like, this is a mid-tier story. This is the best team since like 1936. I'm like, Pujols, Judge. I'd rather talk about that. Who cares?
Well, and they're over, what is it? They're 100 runs more than the Yankees, the Astros. That's very, very impressive. And we all know, the strength of the Astros, team. So to be that far ahead, that's incredible. I mean, we were joking around. I was just looking at it, and I looked at the highest run differential of all time, and it was like 4 or 5 something. And we're like, oh, can they catch them? The answer was no. But they're not slowing down. They're absolutely not slowing down.
That run differential too is from like 1891, I believe.
Yeah,
it was like the Philadelphia Browns or something.
Yeah, I mean, the Padres are a playoff team, but they're 21 games behind the Dodgers. 21 games.
And meanwhile, Manny Machado is like putting up an MVP caliber season. No one wants to talk about it.
He's so good. Yeah, just tremendously overshadowed by what the Dodgers have done all season. But yes, Machado is an absolute gangster.
He's the type of guy I would have said is like a dog. Like, I don't now. I would not. I know enough now. But when he signed with the Padres, I'm like, that guy? Come on, San Diego, really? I'm gonna say he might be as wrong as I've ever been about a player in my life. Because it turns out he plays every day. People love him. He's a grinder. Like, he's just a guy who every single day is ready to take 4 or 5 plate appearances and play gold.
That's a great point. Yeah, he's always going to be in the lineup. He gives you just an unbelievable at bat. Plays great defense. And I think, with the shift, and obviously that's going to be eliminated, but I don't think guys like that get enough credit for, he's running to play shallow, right field. He's running back for the next guy. Then he's going back to right field. Like, to be out there every single day, and that might seem like something small, but it's really not. It's like, think about, outfielders have to, sprint in and sprint out, every inning, every play. They're running balls down in the gap. They're running into walls. They're making diving plays. They're catching balls, on the foul line and jamming a knee into the, into the padding. Like, all these little things add up. So, like, for a guy like Machado to be out there every single day and, the extra things that he does, and that kind of goes unnoticed by most people. But he's an absolute grinder. And I think that there are things like in his past that people look at and like, they might be kind of down on him. But, Manny's matured a tremendous amount, over the course of his career. And that's, I think, what is one of the only things that matters. Is like, are you able to like mature as a player and as a person and kind of put things behind you and kind of move on? And Machado's definitely a guy that's done that.
So he's third now in National League in wins above replacement at 6.6. He's hitting 298, 369, 532. So just like a massive OPS in a year where OPS is down like 10, 15%. Or I shouldn't say 10, 15%. It's probably down closer to 7.5%. But it's down, and Machado keeps doing his thing. It's just until the Padres do something in October, it's hard to put him in another tier. Like, it's hard to – he'll always, until they succeed in October, it'll always be like the very good player on that pretty good team. Like, it feels like Marino with the Dolphins, or maybe that's a bad example, Dan Fouts with the Chargers. Just like great teams that you'd like to watch that were exciting and fun, but they didn't really do shit in the playoffs. And, yeah, I just made a Dan Fouts reference, so fucking deal with that. He was good. What else?
Yeah. No, it's tough when guys don't have postseason accolades or don't have that a part of the resume. It seems like they get shortchanged a little bit for their accomplishments. In baseball, it's one of those sports where it's one of the only sports where like your individual performance, unless you're having a season like Aaron Judge, you just don't necessarily have as much say in what your team does overall. Like, you can help, with WAR and help, lead your team to wins in a certain capacity. But there's so many other things, and there's so many other players that have to be involved with that also. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you hit 3 homers and the starting pitcher gives up, 6 runs, like, man, it was kind of all for nothing. You have the individual numbers, but you don't have like the team, the overall team, wins or whatever. And then the postseason is just a whole different animal, or the playoffs in baseball. It's just a different deal. Like with Trout, he could have these MVP seasons and just, never come close to making the postseason because his team sucks.
Well, you bring him up. I got a footnote here. He's 731 slug in September with 9 homers. We went on a spree there, not just us, everybody in baseball, where they weren't talking about Mike. Bad back injury, Shohei, are the Angels for sale? All the shit that's going on with the Angels. It's very easy to forget about Mike Trout. Nope, we've talked about this before. He's reminding us once again, it's the end of the year. Nobody's walking away from the 2022 season without profound appreciation for Mike Trout. He just won't stand for it. He's been on fire down the stretch. I want to go back to Aaron Nola. You mentioned him in a great story earlier, and a guy who could get an opportunity in October. This came up recently, and it is pretty awesome. He's only the 3rd Phillies pitcher in the last 120 years to strike out 200 and walk less than 30, joining Cliff Lee and Roy Halladay. the amount of command he has, the swing and miss stuff in a strike zone, and he could very much have that opportunity. Game 1 is a 4 seed against a 5 seed in the wild card, or he should have a chance here in October to really put some like national shine on how good he is. We'll say there's a lot of fans that tune in that time of year that are casually following it throughout the season, are like, oh, cool, playoff baseball's here. They got a 3 p.m. afternoon start. I like this should be a good game, and they'll see him for the first time, or I shouldn't say the first, but there are people that'll be tuning in for the first time all season. They'll be seeing these guys, and so Aaron Nola, huge opportunity here. This is go time, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's as even keel as anybody. His heart rate never gets too high. He's not in the spotlight very often. He's got his hiking pants and his hiking boots on. You don't hear from him much. He's kind of he's doing his own thing. He's not very active on social media. He's not in your face. He's just out on the mound every fifth day, commanding the ball extremely well. He throws a ton of strikes. He's a guy you can count on. I've said it before. He's in the clubhouse 4 or 5 hours before the game, rolling out, doing trigger point work, stretching, like sitting in the hot tub, cold tub. Like he's as prepared as anybody that I played with. He's very well respected. And again, with the whole heart rate thing, there's no moment that he's not ready for. And I really look forward to watching him pitch in October. I mean, he's a workhorse. He's always out there. And he doesn't have like the eye-popping, like radar gun type of fastball, but it's deceptive. And, I compared Joe Ryan to him, and we talked to Sonny Gray about Joe Ryan and how they watch a lot of Aaron Nola video. It's just that it's that deception. It gets on you quick. He's got that curveball that kind of looks like it's popping out to the right, and then it's got that slider curveball rotation, very, very tight. And it just seems to kind of hit another gear, and when you offer, it's just you can't put the barrel on it. So exceptional feel for his glove side sinker, which is a pitch that if you're gonna have these types of strikeout numbers without 98 miles per hour, you have to be able to command that hip shot and move the ball in, around, up and down, and he's done that for a long, long time. So. Phillies are in really good hands if they can get to the postseason with him, and obviously with Wheeler, who's another beast.
I do have to introduce, though I know he's your boy, Bryce Harper. Little tough stretch here now, and now it's kind of getting to the point where I would imagine some people are. I'll be specific. He's hit 153 in September, over 20 games with 2 bombs. Look, one of the greatest players in the world, but if he's hurt or if he's not 100%. I don't even know how to broach that. He's playing if he wants to play, right? If he's like, yeah, I'm playing, right?
You're going to absolutely throw him in there. I don't know if he's banged up at all. Is there
I just imagine coming back from injury. Like, don't injuries still, I would imagine. He's not going to play when it doesn't hurt. He's going to play when the pain doesn't prevent him from playing as much.
I believe that if he thinks he's a detriment to the team, if he's running out there banged up enough to not be, better for his team than the next guy, I don't think he would be out there. Maybe he's tried to push it a little bit, and maybe that hand or maybe that thumb is still bothering him, or maybe it's something else. I don't know. I haven't seen anything, but this is the type of time. This is the time where you just expect a guy like Harper to go out there and just to be really good, because he's ready for the big moment. And when you see him, go 0 for 5, 0 for 4, 0 for 2 with a couple walks, 1 for 4, 0 for 2, like that's kind of surprising. Because he's a guy that he'll go the opposite way to get his knocks, to get a guy on base. He didn't care if there are 2 outs. Getting the guy in out of the windup and into the stretch, putting a guy on could, cause a little rhythm change, and you could start a rally with 2 outs. So he's that guy. He's not just looking to hit for power. He's gonna take what the pitcher's gonna give him. So to see him scuffle like this is surprising, especially at this time in the season. Again, I don't necessarily know if he's got that, past injury bothering him. I don't know. It is a little surprising, but I'm still firing him out there. If he tells me he can play, like he's in the lineup, batting second or third or whatever.
But from my perspective, the Phillies absolutely have to put him out there. If he's hitting 153, he's hitting 053. It's a slam dunk. Speaking of slam dunks, I want to talk to you about our good friends at Live Pure. Are you watching this on YouTube? Because you're going to see a demonstration here. I got my Live Pure packet. You see this? This is the energy packet. A natural jitter-free energy pre-workout supplement. What do you have?
I got the Hydrate. It's still 147 degrees here, and I've been taking this before football practice. I'm not playing football, but I'm on the sideline coaching the quarterbacks and the running backs, and I need this. Yeah. I need this. And my favorite thing about it is there's no added sugar. And, you know, when you get to our age, we're trying to watch our sugars. But you need to stay hydrated, especially in the heat. Pre-workout, during workout, post-workout. That's why I specifically love the Hydrate packets. Carl's over there. He's starting to recover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he had a long weekend.
Yeah, I got to get the energy, you know, because I need a little. I took a lot out of me, and I'm going to put it back. Live Pure is, and you guys, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, if not, I'm just shaking up the pack they send me. It's so easy. Into a bottle of water. Had water earlier, refill. Time to get some Live Pure in me. Try to get some good stuff in me. With the energy, I got natural jitter-free energy pre-workout supplement. I want to close the day strong here. Obviously, going to the gym to do the squat thrusts in a little bit when we finish the show here. We've talked whey protein. Everybody knows whey protein, putting the protein in them. But the Hydrate, which Jake's talking about, rapid hydration, amino acids, critical. There's a lot of these packs floating around today. People are, I want to get hydrated. This is amino acid focused too, along with the electrolytes. It's not just the gimmicky sugar-based, all that BS. And let's talk. Amino acids. You love amino acids because electrolytes are not enough for rapid rehydration. Peak body performance your body can't produce on its own. You need amino acids.
You have to have them, and that's news to me. With in addition to the electrolytes, they help with hydration, but it makes sense. I mean, aminos are the building blocks of protein. You need protein to stay for hydration, for building lean muscle, if that's your goal. And everybody should be trying to build lean muscle, especially as you age. But yes, like I said, these things are always in the car with me now. And even into the winter, you know, when we're not outside as much in the heat, still sweating our balls off in the sauna or whatever the case is, got to stay hydrated because you lose a lot when you sweat. You got to replenish it. Live Pure. Amazing products these guys are making.
Yeah.
Big fan.
People don't talk about this, but, like, pro athletes, you guys don't really have the room to, like, take a workout off because everybody's working their ass off. So, like, if you want to keep it going, you know, you don't have the luxury. When you're a big professional athlete, you need to find high-quality products that support your routine. You need Live Pure. So check them out.
Well said.
Thank you. They got emerging flavors, blue raspberry, lemonade, orange. Obviously, it's delicious, like a dreamsicle. I highly encourage you guys to check out Live Pure. All you guys got to do is go to www.livepure.livepure.com and use code STARTING9 for 25% off your entire order. So you guys want to order, get it for the whole company. You want to order it for the frat house. You want to order it for the soccer team. You want to order it for the block party coming up. Halloween's around the corner. You know, hey, kids, here's a candy bar. Also, get hydrated. What do you say? Check them out, www.livepure.com. Use code STARTING9 for 25% off your entire order. And this is big because as we get into playoff baseball, High Performance Carl is here. People don't know. This is High Performance Carl. And that's the machine is up and running. People don't know this about me. When it's fucking crunch time, Jake, we got a couple weeks left of the season and then wall-to-wall baseball coverage. I want to thank Live Pure for getting the mind, body, spirit ready to go. Go check them out, livepure.com. Use code STARTING9 for 25% off your order. I have a couple other playoff things, and then I wrote a whole segment called non-playoff stuff because I feel obligated to just quickly boop, boop, boop. I'm thinking about you guys. I'm thinking about your teams. You're just not in the playoff race. I want to go back to some playoff big news here. Spencer Strider oblique. He might be out till the NLCS. Issues with Spencer Strider going into this news, obviously with the Tommy John surgery out of college. This is the most inning workload he's ever put on his body by far. He's broke the MLB record for fastest to 200 strikeouts, just shattering some of the greatest strikeout pitchers of all time in the process. A lot of mojo about him in the playoffs, and now it's coming out. Oblique might only be available in the NLCS. Where does an oblique rate? You have nice obliques, I should say.
Yeah,
well,
oblique's very, very tough injury.
First off, a small percentage of people even have obliques.
Not everybody's got them.
Okay.
Everybody's got them. Are you talking about like visibly? Visibly, yes. I mean, the oblique muscles, it's a nice one to have visible. It looks good. It looks good. When you're in like that shredding phase and the obliques start to show, it's nice. But the more, like the lower percentage of body fat you have, like as an athlete, it's typically not a great thing. You need a little bit of body fat during the season. Like if you're retired and you're trying to get shredded, that's fine because you're not out there rotating at 100%. 100% effort. But with an oblique, it's just one of those things where when it first happens, it's difficult to sit up out of bed. It hurts to sneeze, especially if it's like a grade 2 or, a grade 1 doesn't take a ton of time to heal. But if you push it too quickly, you re-injure it, you set yourself back. I've done that before. I had an oblique in 2008. I kind of felt that little, it's like a burning sensation. And I ended up getting through my warm-ups and I threw 25 pitches and I just made it worse. I thought, I didn't necessarily know what it was. I just thought, okay, that was weird. Was it a cramp? But then it turned into like a high grade 1. So I missed, 3 or 4 weeks. So it's one of those deals that you just have to make sure that it's completely healed before you go back out there, because you start playing catch again, you re-injure it, then you're out the rest of the season anyways. You miss the entire playoffs. So with Strider, yeah, it's an injury that you have to be very careful with, and especially a guy who rotates as fiercely as he does, throws 100 miles an hour. I mean, there's a lot of torque there, and the oblique is just, frankly, something that you have to make sure is completely healed, or if he goes out there and tries to get on it a little bit early, he's just going to re-injure it. So yes, an injury that is a scary one, and it's unfortunate because I want to see the kid continue to pitch throughout the rest of September and into October. Yeah, shitty. And there's really nothing you can do. I mean, you can get loose and you can limber up and stretch out and do this and do that. But man, sometimes the oblique is just something that you see with hitters. They take a check swing and they strain an oblique, or, a guy throwing from the outfield, like an oblique. It's a weird one. And it's a hard injury to prevent.
Big challenge with the Braves too. Pitching depth, they do have a lot of, I would say, they have the starting pitching staff that can. Nobody wants to lose a number one going to the playoffs, but they do have depth to kind of manage it. Just the issue is if they get into a 3-game series, then you got to bounce these guys back for a 5-game series in the NLDS. It gets a little bit harder losing a Strider. So, obviously there's already enough pressure and incentive to win the NL East, but this kind of adds a little bit to it if I'm the Braves. A lot of people said, too, that Spencer Strider slam dunk for Rookie of the Year. I just want to make a note. Michael Harris, I don't understand how – I know that Spencer Strider's been remarkable, but to me, Michael Harris, every single day, I think if you're in between a position player and a pitcher for Rookie of the Year, I think unless it's glaringly different, you got to go with the position players playing every day. Michael Harris has been an absolute force. Look at his numbers, hitting over 300, almost 20 stolen bags. He's going to have a 2020 season. He's just utterly legit and is not going anywhere. So I want to give some credit to the Braves before we get – I know the weekend and the whole story will be told this weekend with succeed, fail, whatever, how that shakes up. But they're here because of these two young guys. Kind of shitty. Spencer Strider's not going to be available for the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. But we'll see how that injury shakes up. I could be just reacting to the report. So, hold on.
No, and I don't think that you can just hand it to Spencer Strider. If you asked me a couple weeks ago, I said, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. But then when you really look at Michael Harris's numbers in 407 plate appearances, 383 at-bats. He's got, he's 1 away from 20 homers. He's got 62 RBIs, almost 20 stolen bases. And yeah, you're right. They wouldn't be in the position they're in without those two guys. And it's just very impressive. And you got to give it to the Braves for having, the top 2 candidates for Rookie of the Year on the same team.
It's classic Braves. Guys that had nothing to do with their World Series run last year.
Yeah. Sometimes you just ask teams, like, how do you do it? You draft well, you develop well. And there's, about half the teams don't do that very well at all. And then, the other 10, 12, 15 are, just kind of laughing at the teams that can't figure it out.
I think if every Major League Baseball team had a company party and they just gathered their employees for a day to hang out and barbecue and, we're going to drink in the parking lot or do whatever you do at company parties, I think the Braves would have the best group of people at their company party. I think they'd have the employees that get along the most. I think they've got the employees that know each other the best. There's something about that Braves organization because to me, they're just on an island. I know the Miami Marlins. I know that there's – but it's just the Braves, south of the Mason-Dixon line. They own the Southeast. There's just something about that organization that lends itself to being repeatable and great. Now, I mean, I'm biased, 13 straight division titles as a child, but throughout my entire life, the Rays are probably the most consistent professional sports organization year in, year out. It's got to speak to the people there, from the scouts, cross-checkers, ball boys, the fucking guy fixing the fax machine. There's just something about the Braves. I bet that company party's a good time. I do one more guy in the NL East. Pete Alonso set the Mets record for season RBIs with 128. Just big old Pete. He's not the best player on that team or the best player in that lineup, but he just shows up and does his job about as well as anybody because they ask him to just slug and be a G, and then they surround him with these guys like Nimmo and McNeil, and obviously Lindor is playing outstanding in the second half. They've got so many good players around him, which then just allows Pete Alonso to just think as simple as like get Ian box, see ball, mash ball. That's it.
Yeah, it's just looking back to 2019, his rookie year when he had 120 RBIs. Pretty incredible there. And and he's 8. He eclipsed that by 8, sets the record. He's just a rock solid guy. He's just like demeanor wise, he just reminds me of like a guy like Reese Hoskins too. Just like isn't fazed by anything. Just like you said, just goes out there and just slugs and does his job. And he's got just great players around him, which makes your job a lot easier when you have that supporting cast. But yeah, congratulations to P for doing that, and that's a record that has stood for a long, long time.
Yeah, hell fucking yeah. I have some other stuff.
I was going to talk to you just about the Marlins a little bit. Obviously, they're Donnie Baseball won't be coming back next year as their manager, and it's such a frustrating team because if you look at the arms that these guys have, if you could just get some adequate position players and bats around them. I mean, they've got the Cabrera, they've got Alcantara, they've got Sixto coming back, they've got Luzardo. They've got 6 or 7 dudes that could be potential aces. Literally 6 or 7, maybe more, maybe 8. Just mind blowing.
If you look at some of the players they've traded away too, it's really crazy what's going on down there. I mean, you go back to when they traded Yelich and they had, Stanton and stuff, but I don't know what holds them back. Ownership, obviously. That division's been so competitive at the top. Where in the offseason, if you're a Marlins decision maker for a number of years, you've come into the offseason and looked at your division and been like, we're at best the 3rd best team in this league. So
it seems like their plan changes like every year. Like they have this, they have a 5-year plan, and then they erase the whiteboard and say, no, we're gonna do this, and then in November, December, they change their mind again. I just think there's a lot of inconsistency there with the decision makers. I mean, it's got to be because you look at like the players that they've had over the past 5 or 6 years, and then you look at what they have now. It's like, what?
And why fire Manley now, or why announce it now?
I think it was supposedly a mutual thing. I don't know. Okay. I'm not sure.
Do you have any stories of him? You know him at all?
I don't. No, I don't know him well at all. He's well liked. I just think I think they both kind of agreed to go their separate ways, and I believe that Mattingly, admitted it didn't work out, or it hasn't worked out there. maybe they should have just given him a little bit more say-so with what's going on, overall in the organization also, because the other guys in those positions haven't been doing a very good job.
No. But people say Mattingly has what it takes to be like a legit, give him some talent, that he could be a very good major league manager. I don't know if that's commonly understood, but the general consensus from experts, even the wake of this firing, is a commentary like, man, if you gave this guy an actual roster, he'd probably be able to do some great stuff for you.
And in one of the toughest divisions in baseball, I mean, if you can't hit, you can pitch as well as you want. You got to score some runs as well. So they have not done that. It's got to be frustrating for Mattingly, because imagine if like you're just watching the rotations that, and the guys that you've had, those arms, you just watch them go out there every 5 days and like, fuck, if we could get a couple runs, like we'd win 90 games. I mean, because like you just go up and down.
But then maybe that's why they're
and
firing
they have more
him.
guys.
Or maybe that's why they're parting ways, because the Miami Marlins are looking at me like, wait a second, we're so close. If we can just get a couple things and change a couple things, I don't know.
They don't have the horses, though. They don't have the bats. They don't. I mean, give the guy some guys that can hit.
Could you see them spending money this offseason? Surprise deal.
No, I don't think so. But they're just going to waste. They're going to waste away their pitching, or they're going to have to end up. Maybe they trade one or two to try and get some big bats. I don't know, but they have a surplus of really good arms. That's one thing they do have.
Is that a development thing, a culture thing?
Yeah, you got to give credit to them there. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is a development thing because you just don't necessarily come out of, let's say, like and a lot of these guys are from Latin America. I believe from like the international draft. Sixto was Sixto a Cub? Sixto Sanchez was a Cub, correct?
Don't do that to
Who
me.
was he? Who was he with?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't think he was a Cub. We don't complain about that very often. Although I'm always looking for stuff to complain about. So
where was he? Was he Philly?
Let's find out, Jake.
I'm not quick enough on the computer.
Nah, dude, I got this stuff. I just talked to bro, what the
no,
fuck
where
are you
was
talking
he?
about? This guy's 21 years old.
Sixto? Yeah, and he throws a million. Where did he come from?
Philly.
Okay, there you go. Okay, I knew it was one of the two. But like you don't just show up out of the international draft or the draft or whatever and have this feel for pitching and the developed off-speed stuff and the mound presence. Like, yeah, you have to give credit to their whoever's developing their arms. Alcantara's been developed. It looks like this Cabrera guy is being developed. He's very raw, but he's close. Luzardo, he was he didn't start with the Marlins, but yes, you got to give him some credit there. But
he got traded for JT.
You just don't want to see.
He was part of the JT trade.
Yeah. You just don't want to see stuff like this go to waste. But it happens. It happens all around the game. It's just it's tough to watch. Because I'd like to see a good Marlins team at some point.
Fresh fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know what? It would be nice at the same time, though. They've got 2 World Series championships and a lackluster fan base, so they'll spend money in the offseason. They're by far the least interesting organization to me in that division, but they're sexy uniforms. People like Miami. It's good for competitive balance from a geography standpoint, to have a good solid presence there in Florida. Yeah. Hey, speaking of fish, let's talk about steaks. Did you get a box of steaks? I get a box of steaks from Omaha Steaks, and
am I supposed to be getting
it
one?
was the best. It should be in the mail because mine came here last week, and I've been just cooking up a storm in my kitchen. Fillets. I got a couple loins that I defrosted today. I'm gonna go throw some pork loins on. Oh, buddy, the hot dogs World-class dogs. I'm sitting around stuffing my face with Chicago dogs. Omaha Steaks. From tailgate parties to busy weeknights, the flavor experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to savor all the flavors of fall with their mouth-watering assortments of perfectly aged steaks, ultra-juicy burgers, and easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. I'm going to stress ultra-juicy burgers. I struggle so hard in the burger department and just making them delicious and fresh and moist. And then Omaha comes out of the gate. They're like, here's a tip, Carl. Defrost these in the fridge, wait 24 hours, and you'll have the juiciest, most moist burger. And right now we're offering 50% off site-wide by shopping their semi-annual sale. Sale only happens twice a year. 50% off. Delicious customer favorites. And when you use promo code STARTING9 at checkout, take an additional $30 off your order. So it's 50% off, and then throw on STARTING9 for another $30 off. Personally, I don't have as much time as I would like to stand in line at the butcher shop this time of year. I just don't have it in me to make sure there's quality meat in my freezer, and that's why I like Omaha Steaks. They deliver right to my doorstep in a whole array of products. I mean, you go on there, you got ribeyes, you name it. Omaha Steaks has it. Every steak, every entree is flash frozen, vacuum sealed, ready to share with your family. It's super easy to manage the stuff when it comes in. Just throw it right in the freezer. They package it up perfectly. Everybody knows, you say Omaha Steaks, it's like, oh my God, that's high class, that's good living. And we're here with 50% off annual sale. And if you use promo code STARTING9, take $30 off your order. Don't wait, go to omahasteaks.com, enter code STARTING9 at checkout, and stock up on all fall flavors today. That's code STARTING9 at checkout for an extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required, but we don't recommend a minimum order. We recommend a big boy order. Get in there and load up. Omaha Steaks, legit. You like steak. You like red meat.
Oh, God. I mean, more than anything in the world. That's like the main staple of my diet. And, I mean, Omaha's been doing it for, let's see, since 1917.
Holy tamale.
And, you know, when you're getting your meat from Nebraska, you know it's high quality. You know it's high quality.
You got a lot of room.
I'll probably throw, you know, what I've been doing is I need to get some Omaha Steaks, but I've been buying like the really large, the huge like beef tenderloins. We'll slice them up and then vacuum seal them and throw them in the freezer and just kind of have them on hand. Yeah, I mean, we go through 10 pounds, I'd say, a week at least.
That's a lot of beef tenderloin. You're a big boy, though. You need that beef tenderloin.
Got to have it. I'm trying to put some weight on the kids, too. Beef them up a little bit.
That time of the year. Yeah, reminder, go check out omahasteaks.com. Enter code STARTING9. Check out, stock up on all fall flavor today. Code STARTING9, extra $30 off the order. I like Omaha Steaks. All right. I have a meaty segment here to close out.
Let's hear it.
We have a lot of teams that are not in playoff hunt and that really aren't. They're showing up. They're finishing the season. Congratulations to this team. I have bullet points for these teams, some takeaways, some observations for our non-playoff roundup. And I'm going to start with Zach Gallen, who endorsed Starting 9 on social media on Friday. Basically came out and said it will do amazing things for your career. I said, Zach Gallen is a nasty, bad, filthy, disgusting boy. I was talking about his pitch repertoire. I asked him, I go, can you confirm or deny the rumors that you're a nasty, filthy, bad boy? He said, I will not confirm or deny these rumors. I will say that going on Starting 9 will turn your career around. It's an amazing, so thank you, Zach Gallen.
What an endorsement.
That's great stuff.
Yeah, and you know what great work we've done for these guys, too. It's not just all about them.
Luis Castillo, 5-year, $108 million.
It's about you.
There you go.
Oh, I mean, how about a dinner, Luis? How about a dinner when we come see you?
What about that, Luis?
It's the least he could do.
No motorcycles.
Take us fishing.
We haven't talked about the Red Sox that much this year. They officially are eliminated from postseason play. So in the same vein, if we're not talking about you, things are going south. The Red Sox, to me, honestly, like they finish last place every other year. They finish first place the other years. They're either the best team in the AL East or they're the worst team. Like this is a non-story to me, even though it's a major story that the Red Sox are going to be in last place this year. But I don't care. I still think the Red Sox are going to bounce back next year because this is what they do literally every single time they're bad. They come back the next year and fucking kill it. Meanwhile, Orioles could be for sale. Did you hear about this?
Orioles could be. I mean, it's about time that Angelos would sell the team. And there's people lining up. Like somebody needs to step in there. Someone will buy it. I mean, how many? There's got to be a shitload of billionaires that are competitive that have been waiting for a sports team to go on sale.
So apparently
Just waiting.
there's a big issue here legally because the father, Peter's 93, a son, John, is in charge. John has a brother, and apparently the brother is suing him because he's like, hey, I'm kind of getting pushed out and all this stuff. Now, while I was researching this, it came to my attention that they've got some funky deal with the Washington Nationals on splitting TV rights and all this stuff. The long end of it is that the Nationals are allegedly for sale too, like quietly the Lerner family's trying to sell the team, but they've asked for like $2.5 billion. And that
Well, Lerner's like really, really old too, or yeah.
So there could be some big news this offseason with teams changing hands and like owners coming in here, because I feel like if Lerners go, if once the Nats go, it sounds like the Orioles go. And if the Orioles go, it sounds very much like there are a couple other teams, the Athletics, the Pirates. I didn't say the Rockies, but there are teams that very much make sense if we're going to start selling baseball teams. I said the Rockies, KB's done for the year. He played 42 games on his first contract. Wellness check on him? You think he's doing okay? Or?
Well, I mean, physically, no. Mentally, I mean, I'm sure he wishes he would have been able to, kind of post a little bit more. And there's not much you can do, though, about certain injuries. I mean, it is what it is. I know he wants to be out there playing. Rockies it's been another frustrating team, just like the Marlins, like the Orioles. Maybe, switching ownership would be great for that organization. I mean, they haven't done well with the current group. And it's another one of those frustrating. They're kind of the opposite of the Marlins. Have historically had a really nice lineup with no consistent, high-end starting pitching. And it's that consistent excuse of, no one wants to come pitch in Colorado. I guarantee you pay guys enough to go there, they'll go.
Yeah, I can't get my head wrapped around why and how they can let the Arenado saga play out the way it did. When we talked to Charlie Blackmon earlier in the season, he didn't say it directly, but you could sense a little confusion from his standpoint. He'd been there for his entire career. And now then it's like, all right, well, we're going to go out, we're going to get a third base, we'll get a guy, we'll build around that guy, we'll take the Arenado money. And tough sliding for Rockies fans to get a direction here. I do understand, like, if the Rockies are trying to do a sign of goodwill and be like, hey, it didn't work out with Nolan. We have this plan here. We'll go to Chris. Here's what we think. And then, meanwhile, Nolan's going to finish top 3 in the MVP candidacy. The Cardinals are off and running.
I mean, he's a borderline. At this point, I would say a borderline Hall of Famer.
First ballot. I'm saying he could get 99% of the vote. I don't know a sports writer that would vote against him.
I don't disagree. I just think it's kind of with certain guys, or with a lot of guys, it's hard to say that, like, when they're still kind of like when they're in their prime, still doing it. But I think he has enough of a resume to kind of say that. He's got around 10 years in the show. He's led the league a number of times in various categories. He's got. He doesn't have an MVP, but he's got a Rookie of the Year. He's got obviously numerous. How many Gold Gloves in a row? He's got 5 or 6, top 10 MVP finishes. 3 or 4 top 5. So yeah, I'd say he's a first ballot guy. You're always gonna have people that would argue against that. Oh, he hadn't done this and that. Like, come on. The guy's a 290 on the verge of a 300 career average hitter. And he's in the same lineup with Goldschmidt.
His games played is really impressive. He's around over 150 games played almost every single season, and the position that he's doing it, he's so much better defensively. That gap, it's insane to see him. You're waiting, like, there's got to be a year where he doesn't do it, where, like, the bat's not there, like, the quads get banged up, and he's DHing a little bit. But no, for the most part, it is just Nolan Arenado is going to go out there and paint a masterpiece over 162 games. And so just working this in conjunction with, like, where the Rockies are at, it just makes things worse as a Rockies fan if you're looking at what's going on with the Cardinals and being like, dude, I'll give the money for Chris Bryant. Why don't we just keep it with Nolan? I do have other.
Yeah, I mean his worst year. Well, I don't know if worst, but it was last year, I guess. And I think a lot of players, there are a lot of guys that would kill to have a year like that. 255, 34 homers, 105 RBIs, 34 doubles. That's his worst year.
Yeah, he had a very, I think, slow stretch or a funky start there. And then once settled in and got going, he hasn't slowed down at all this year. And again, it's like you go into the playoffs with the Cardinals, and you have a Hall of Famer at first base, you have a Hall of Famer at third base. I mean, active players right now, where you would say these guys are at the top of their position, you feel pretty good about yourself. And then they've got like 4 or 5 young guys that are on making $750 grand that are running around posting OPS pluses over 120. Again, put them in the same category with the Braves. I'm sick of their success. I have one more guy I had 2 more guys I want to talk about. Joey Meneses for the Nationals, absolute fucking beast, hitting 326. I just have to give this guy a shout out. He's like a 31-year-old rookie. We talked about him a couple weeks ago in his first 10 games. I'm happy to report his bat really hasn't slowed down at all. So the Nationals fans, while you guys have had just an unbelievably brutal season, there's just something cute and funny about these players that don't really, like, he's not going to be in your lineup 5 years from now, and presumably if you guys are back, because just the way age is and the way this game works. But for a brief moment, you get to turn on the TV and, like, he's the guy. You're cheering for him. You're buying into his story. These are not.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's 30.
Yeah,
he's 30 years old. I mean, he's not old yet.
Okay. So, like, this is a guy, hey, you get a piece of the action now that you're 30, and maybe he gets a play. Wouldn't that be great if he goes to arbitration
could rattle
and
off
got
6
like
or
a $9
7
million
years,
year?
Sure. I mean, this happens from time to time. You see a guy like that who takes however long to get there and has to grind his ass off to get to the big leagues, and then he just becomes an everyday guy, and you're like, damn, like what? How did this happen? And sometimes it does. And if you can, I don't know, what does he have? 200 plate appearances, hitting 326. Like that's, I'd have to kind of look into that, like the types of hits. What's his slug? His slug's 583. I mean, he could turn into a really nice player.
Yeah, and those are like the fun moments as a fan when you see this guy. You're like, well, what if so we got him now. He's good. You don't know. You're just like, but the only reason you're watching 200 plate appearances, guys, is because the team turned out to be as bad as it was, and they had to trade Juan Soto, and there's all these opportunities for guys to play. And so if you're a Nats fan, you're hanging on to a nice storyline going to the offseason. I don't even know how to say it. Joey Meneses?
Not sure.
That's a tough look if it's Meneses. That's not a good one.
Well, so he's born in Mexico. Curious about, the last name. I want to know how you pronounce that.
Meneses.
I've never seen that name.
Meneses.
I've never seen that name before. Yeah. I mean, we're probably
so far off.
Botching
yeah.
that.
Very disrespectful to him, which I'd like to apologize. I'm doing
the
best I can.
It's not intentional.
I'm doing the best I can. And then, hey, Adolis Garcia is 4th in the American League in RBIs. He plays right field for the Texas Rangers. So I made a note of all these teams. I'm like, I have to say something. We talked a little bit about the Rangers here. Hey, Adolis Garcia, 29 years old, got him from the Cardinals. Back-to-back seasons where he's been somewhat productive despite extremely high strikeout rates. So good luck to the Texas Rangers this offseason. And then the last 3 teams I haven't said anything about, or the Giants. You guys lost your, obviously Scott Harris is moved over to the Tigers. Dayton Moore got fired from the Royals. And Joey Votto went in the stands with the Reds. There, I said something about every single Major League Baseball team this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's San Francisco Giants. I had much higher expectations for that team this year, as I think a lot of people did. They just kind of took a shit.
And they have big problems with turnover now because some of these guys, I saw they had a picture of the starting infield. We had a mound meeting the other day, and I was like, fuck, Crawford and Longoria are still out there? Ugh. And Rodon's leaving.
Still doing it.
So, pretty tough. Rodon's going to get paid big old money.
He's going to get a nice deal.
Good for Scott Boras. Good for Scotty. What else you got,
Not that he needs it, but yeah. Not a whole lot. Kids had off school today. We had Zoom parent-teacher conferences. Kids are doing great in school. Very proud of them. Yeah, we're good parents. We are good parents. Looking forward to getting our playoff schedule down. We need to have a chat about that and see what we're gonna do.
I like a trip to Austin. I like some playoff streams where you and I are doing like a Manning cast talking about the game.
Yeah, and have some people jump on with us. Some players, some maybe some celebrities, some fans of those teams that are playing. Get them on, get them to spend an inning or two with us.
We got some baseball watch, though, guys. Big slate tonight, big slate Tuesday. We'll be back Thursday morning working on an interesting interview with a huge fan of baseball. It should have some interesting stuff for us. No spoilers or details about that yet. In the meantime, please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Leave a review. Do something. Subscribe to YouTube. Share the fucking show. Do me a solid. Stop making me get up every morning and be like, what if I tweet the link this way? Just subscribe. And I'll reward you appropriately
Subscribe
with
to
good
the
content.
show.
So.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do here. Again, hey, we're winding down. It's going to be an interesting week. Judge will. I'm going to say he's going to get 61 today. He's on the road. It's going to happen.
In Toronto. But you're calling it in Toronto.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Those Canadians aren't giving the ball away either. So if you catch that thing, hang on to it. There could be an outpatient procedure on the receiving end. We'll get a little trade there for those Canadians. That's a joke. I don't want to make healthcare jokes again. I'm sorry. Good episode, Jake.
You're a bad boy.
Yeah, good shit, dude. We'll talk soon. Again, everybody go subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.